removed all service chiefs in Nigeria, and appointed new ones whom he directed to resume with immediate effect. Those affected in the unprecedented shake-up, including Alkali Usman, who was removed as the Inspector General of Police, Lucky Irabor sacked as the Chief of Defense Staff, Farouk Yahya retired as the Chief of Army Staff, Awal Gambo removed as the Chief of Naval Staff, and Isiaka Amoa retired as Chief of Air Staff. The president subsequently appointed new service chiefs in the country and named a former chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Nuhu Ribadu, as his new National Security Advisor. Ribadu replaces Babagana Mongono as the nation's NSA. Major General C.G. Musa is now the Chief of Defense Staff. Major General T.A. Lagwaja is now the Chief of Army Staff. Rear Admiral E.A. Ogala, now the Chief of Naval Staff. AVM H.B. Abubakar, now the Chief of Air Staff. DIG Kayode Egbotokun, now the Acting Inspector General of Police. And Major General E.P.A. Udendeye is now the Chief of Defense Intelligence. The president also approved the appointment of Adeniyi Adewale as the Acting Controller General of Customs. He takes over from Hamid Ali. The move by the president followed persistent calls by civil society organizations that the security architecture be rejigged and fresh hands allowed to handle the nation's security apparatus. The federal government, representatives, and the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress have resumed talks on steps to mitigate the effects of the removal of fuel subsidy by the President Bola Tinubu's administration. Briefing the State House correspondent after the meeting, the government and the organized labor said they have agreed to set up a steering committee that would receive reports from other subcommittees with 8 weeks.
Promised the last time when we adjourned, when Labour called off the strike and tabled their demands, we went through all those demands and ourselves, that is government and Labour, went through all the items on their list, and we all said we were going to go back to our principals and make consultations. They also said they were going to go to the executives and members and make consultations so that we should reconvene today and move forward. And that's exactly what we did. We reconvened today, and then both parties went through this list and we ticked off the viable ones. Those things are broken into 3 different categories. The immediate, those that can be of low-hanging fruit in the immediate C, then in the short run, the medium term, and the long term. So those lists of demands in terms of implementation and execution fall into those 3 broad categories of short, medium, and long-term, categories.
The organized labor had on June 5 suspended its planned nationwide strike over the removal of subsidy following the agreement reached with the federal government. In a bid to further strengthen the nation's judiciary, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, has sworn in 6 newly appointed judges of the National Industrial Court at the Supreme Court in Abuja. Justice Ariwola on Monday charged the judges to discharge their duties with utmost honor and integrity in line with their calling by shunning all forms of corruption. He said the nation's judiciary is in need of men and women unquestionable character who will dispense justice to the citizens without the fear of external intimidation and manipulation. In his address, he asked the newly appointed judges to expect many high-profile cases, which he said may largely come with juicy, irresistible temptations, especially when they involve mouth-watering financial and business transactions.
Many high-profile cases will definitely come to you, and they may likely come in company of some juicy, irresistible temptations, especially when they involve mouth-watering financial and business transactions. I'm making it clear to you now that you must flee from such disguised danger. Your reputation and integrity matter much, and it counts enormously in your rise to honor and fame in life. Let me point out unambiguously that in life, gifts and wealth that are not worked for, which are by extension undeserving, are always wrapped in calamity and destruction. Flee from them and keep your heads high above the murky waters of corruption and favoritism. No judicial officer at any level of our courts will be allowed to drag the reputation of the Nigerian judiciary into the mud. We can't come this far to fail. Take heed of this admonition by walking rightly towards occupying an enviable space in the annals of the Nigerian judiciary.
President Bola Tinubu has pledged to give priority attention to the health and safety of Nigerians, noting that for any country to develop, the health of its people, particularly the workforce, is critical. The president spoke when he received the co-founder of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mr. Bill Gates, and the president of the Aliko Dangote Foundation, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, on Monday at the presidential villa in Abuja. While saluting the courage and commitment of Bill Gates to working for humanity, he commended the partnership with Aliko Dangote Foundation. Dangote, in his remarks to the media after the visit, congratulated President Tinubu on his election and the successful assumption of office. He said the visit to the villa was to brief the president on the activities of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Aliko Dangote Foundation, highlighting their commitment to improving the health sector in Nigeria.
It was a courtesy call. We came in for myself and my friend Bill Gates to congratulate him once more for his successful election into this office, and also to brief him of what Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Aliko Dangote Foundation have been doing in Nigeria, and also committing to do more and to help Nigeria so that our health sector will keep improving, which will turn out to be better for the whole citizens of the country. We even congratulated him on the removal of subsidy. There will be more money now to put into education, into health, infrastructure, and other areas. And our own side is to help support him to make sure that he achieves his own vision and his goals.
The Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Peter Obi, have accused the Independent National Electoral Commission of frustrating the hearing of its petition before the presidential election court. Peter Obi and the Labour Party are challenging the outcome of the election held on February 25, which produced Bola Tinubu as the ruling All Progressive Congress as Nigeria's president. At the resumed hearing of the petition on Monday, counsel to the petitioners, Jibrin Okutepa, claimed that INEC has refused to release some documents needed for the prosecution of their case. Okutepa, a senior advocate of Nigeria, said the letters were written to INEC, requesting documents to help prove their petition, noting that the letters were acknowledged by the commission. According to him, the electoral body also refused to accept service of the subpoenas issued to them, to their counsel to INEC. Abubakar Mahmood, however, countered the claim, saying the allegations against the commission is untrue. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control has raised the alarm over the nationwide proliferation of unapproved herbal products, which it describes as dangerous. The NAFDAC Director General Professor Mojisola Adeyeye told journalists in Abuja on Monday that most of the herbal medicines were in the form of snuff and oral liquids, which she said were mainly sold by street hawkers. She also noted that the enforcement team of the agency was commencing a nationwide clampdown on the manufacturers and traders who sold such uncertified products. The NAFDAC Director General, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, inspected some items during a press conference on dangerous, unapproved herbal medical products in Abuja.
We have commenced a nationwide mop-up of sacred herbs in circulation. We have also intensified crackdown on all illegal manufacturers and distributors of herbal preparation and other unregistered preparations with a view to bring perpetrators to book and minimize the usage of these substances. It will also not be out of place to put on record some other related enforcement actions carried out recently.
Now onto the foreign scene. China and the United States agreed on Monday to stabilize their intense rivalry so it does not veer into conflict, but failed to produce any major breakthrough during a rare visit to Beijing by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Chinese President Xi Jinping welcomed progress after shaking hands with Blinken at the Great Hall of the People, a grand venue usually reserved for greeting heads of state. The top U.S. diplomat and Xi both stressed the importance of having a more stable relationship, as any conflict between the world's two largest economies would create global disruption.
In a series of purposeful, strategic steps, both at home and abroad, to strengthen our country and our standing around the world. We've made historic investments in our infrastructure, technology, industrial capacity, competitiveness. We've deepened our engagement and alignment with allies and partners around the world in ways that would have been unimaginable a few years ago. That's the backdrop for the relationship between the United States and the People's Republic of China, one of the most consequential in the world. Both the United States and China have an obligation to manage this relationship responsibly. Doing so serves the best interests of the United States, of China, indeed, of the world. Here in Beijing, in a series.
The United Nations is accusing Russia of blocking humanitarian aid to Moscow-controlled regions of Ukraine affected by the recent destructions of the Kharkov Dam. The hydroelectric dam in Russia-occupied southern Ukraine collapsed June 6 as a result of an explosion. Subsequent flooding of dozens of towns and villages has created an environmental disaster and a climbing death toll. As of Sunday, at least 52 people had died, including 35 in the Kremlin-held areas, according to Russian state-run TASS, and 17 in Kyiv-maintained regions. Ukraine's interior minister said 31 people remain unaccounted for. Though evidence suggests that Russia is to blame, Moscow and Kyiv have traded accusations.
Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs continues to support the response to the Kakhovka Dam destruction. 2 interagency convoys traveled today to affected areas, in addition to the ongoing assistance provided by the UN and our partners. In the Kherson region, our teams were in Kalinivske, which is home to nearly 1,700 people who are already facing serious humanitarian needs due to the war. This community used to have a population of 3,400 people before February 2022. We delivered water, hygiene kits, bedding, and shelter material, as well as food for all people in the town for a month. Enough medicine and medical supplies to treat the entire population for 3 months was also delivered. Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs.
That's the Citizen FM news at noon. I am Philomena Okolo. Do stay with us.